Robert Dijkgraaf is directeur van het Amerikaanse Institute for Advanced Study. Ooit de thuisbasis van Albert Einstein. Dijkgraaf woont op het terrein van deze vrijplaats van de wetenschap. Hij neemt ons mee naar wetenschappers die hun leven wijden aan de wereld van morgen. Denkers, dromers, verkenners, zoekers. Hun kennis verspreidt zich over een wereldwijd netwerk. Als we al die kennis verbinden, wat gaat dat voor ons betekenen? Zijn wij dan het denkende deel van het universum? The mind of the universe?
De wetenschap observeert de wereld en probeert die te duiden. Dat doen we met ons brein. Maar we zitten daar ook in gevangen, in dat veredelde apenbrein. Een van de grootste vragen die de wetenschap zich stelt is: hoe werkt het brein? Hoe snappen we wat iemand anders voelt? Hoe komt ons brein tot de conclusie dat iets juist is? Is wat wij denken werkelijkheid? Of is ons brein de grote illusionist? De hele dag worden we via onze zintuigen bestookt met prikkels. We zien, we horen, we voelen, we proeven, we ruiken. Al die sensaties voeden ons brein dat daarmee een werkelijkheid creëert. Maar sommige zintuigen zijn sterker dan andere. Charles Spence is experimenteel psycholoog in Oxford. Hij bestudeert onze waarneming, in het bijzonder hoe de prikkels van onze verschillende zintuigen samen tot één beleving komen. Multisensorische perceptie noemt hij dat.
I'm an experimental psychologist from Oxford University, interested in the senses of the consumer, the person at home. How knowing about unexpected connections between our eyes, our ears, our nose and our mouth can be used in all walks of life to enhance the pleasure or perhaps even to reduce the pain.
Charles Spence probeert de zintuigen zo te beïnvloeden dat het gedrag van mensen verandert. Hij speelt een beetje met de werkelijkheid. Die van zichzelf, maar vooral van anderen. Zo draagt hij zelf altijd een rode broek. Omdat is aangetoond dat mensen dan aardiger tegen je zijn.
Oh, we only have 2 red.
So Charles, 1 red, obviously.
I run a cross-modal research laboratory where I've been for the last 17 years or so. A lab that brings together psychologists, food scientists, chefs, composers, fashion designers, marketeers, all brought together to look at how the senses interact and to try and apply the latest insights from brain science to the real world.
It's delicious. It's quite tangy.
Amazing. What did you put in at the end? I didn't see. The zing.
Lemon zest. Lemon zest. It's
Very
delicious.
nice.
And I think we're sort of seeing a bit of a shift also, in a way, from when we've had sort of decades of what's called the experience economy. Companies, brands, from Starbucks to Lego to Disney, they're not selling you products anymore, they're selling you experiences. Experiences that they can share, and those experiences can be delivered through smell and taste and other kinds of sensory experiences, multisensory events. Since I was an undergraduate here back in 1980 something, you know, imagine a little apartment in the south side of Oxford. You have a TV and some people come around to watch a movie. Everything seems fine. And then once the credits are finished and the first actor starts to speak, suddenly there's a disconnect because you see their lips moving on the screen, but their voices are coming from the loudspeaker over there. And your brain says, what's going on? My senses aren't coordinated. There's like a moment of sort of stopping and trying to figure out what is going on. But then a few moments later, suddenly your brain puts it all back together again and you start to hear the voices as if they're coming from the lips on the screen. That would be the kind of the ventriloquist dummy illusion. And And my kind of research was looking at that sort of situation, how it is that your brain detects a discrepancy between where it sees things and hears things, and then how it puts it all back together again. And that is the multi-sensory perception, the multi-sensory integration.
How are you?
Oh, so
yeah,
what's left to do?
When we checked the data, when we ran the analyses, we had to rerun all of it. And so when I did the figure, we had to redo the figure as well. That would be interesting, yeah.
So, what have we got here? This is one of the testing rooms, which we've got geared up to deliver smell. So we've got an 8-channel smell machine. You can put your fragrance in here, your perfume, and then it'll come out by people's nose while they're looking at different things. So if I want to know, does this perfume make you look younger, more attractive, more like Brad Pitt? This is kind of the apparatus to do it. What you might do if you are a chocolate manufacturer, for example, and you're being told by government or out of the goodness of your own heart, you think you want to reduce some of the unhealthy ingredients in the foods that you present to the market. If I could tell you that by making your chocolates rounder, they will taste sweeter to people. So these kind of tricks of the mind, by changing the colour, by changing the shape, by eating while listening to certain sort of music that can bring out sweetness, potentially at least, offers a way of keeping everyone happy, making your foods healthier without changing the taste for the consumer.
Chocolade die zoeter smaakt omdat het rond is in plaats van vierkant. We proeven dus ook met onze ogen. De verschillende prikkels bepalen wat onze werkelijkheid is. Of wat mogelijk onze illusie is. Dansen is misschien wel het beste voorbeeld van zo'n multizintuiglijke ervaring. Hoe kan het dat dansen zoveel emoties kan oproepen? Het kan zelfs betoveren. Komt die betovering dan door de muziek? Of door ons brein?
I'm very emotional, expressive. Dance is the physical manifestation of our emotion, isn't it? It's a sort of a codified way of expressing our emotion. Perhaps that's what I want the robots to be able to do, also to express themselves. I think there should be someday maybe a TV show called Dancing with the Robots instead of Dancing with the Stars, and then we can judge which robot dances better. Yes, that could happen. That could happen.
Pascale Fung is robot-ingenieur in Hongkong. Ze probeert robots een brein te geven. Maar ze is ervan overtuigd dat het ook mogelijk moet zijn om robots emoties te laten ervaren. Echte, empathische machines.
When I was a child, I read a lot. And one of the things I liked reading was science fiction. When I was 7 or 8, I distinctly remember there was one book. It was translated into Chinese, describing the world of robots. Robots that can talk to you and understand your emotion. At that time, I was really fascinated, and I thought I really wanted to make that happen. I want to be part of that. My parents were artists. I think they taught me this sense of wonder. Artists are very curious. They gave me this sense of wonder and the curiosity. And my curiosity has been directed towards engineering and building robots rather than painting myself. But I'm a creative person. So I build machines, I have to design the machines, I have to design the algorithms. For robots, I think it's very important that they have empathy in order to feel our joy, feel our pain. So far, they never do. They don't have emotion. They don't respond to our commands very well. But I believe this is the new era of making robots of the future. That robots will be more like us. They will have feelings, and they will feel our feelings as well, so that they can be our friends, companion, and caregiver. Tomorrow, they're gonna bring one of its siblings to my office so we can play with it and maybe make it dance and dance with it or something, right?
我的耳罩是不是很帅呀？
是啊，是啊，是啊，你很 cute 啊。
就算你住我的耳罩，我还是能听见你说话。
是的 ，Yeah, you're so cute. Empathy is part of artificial intelligence. Intelligence is beyond just talking to each other. Empathy must be there. This is what we call social emotional intelligence. How can we build machines to be able to interact with humans with emotion and empathy? Without empathy, they don't learn so well. How do you learn without perception of emotion? You must learn that as well. So if the user answers a question, then there's automatic speech recognition that decodes what you say into text. And then we also take the audio input directly, and we do deep learning, some kind of deep learning, and we deduce your sentiment and your emotion. You're happy, you're sad, or you're angry, for example. But also, of course, so if I say something like, I'm really happy I'm going to work today, right? That is, you probably think I'm truly happy that I'm going to work today. But if I say, I am really happy I'm going to work today, even though the words I speak are the same, but the emotion is totally different. In the second case, you know I'm being sarcastic and I'm not really feeling like going to work. So that tone of voice is important. If you want to have robot-human communications, it needs to understand what you're saying. It needs to understand your intent and sentiment, including something as evasive as humor. Okay? I'm going to talk about humor today.
All right, where do you want this? Mother... Ow! What the... Kevin? God damn it!
As you can see, once the robot has emotion, expresses the emotion in voice, it's a whole different level, right?
Mother...
So we have tried first experiments on teaching machines to recognize humor from watching TV sitcoms. So there's Big Bang Theory, there's Seinfeld, there's Friends. You can download them, there's transcriptions. And I just want to show you that humor occurs in context. For example, here it says, I did a bad thing. Does it affect me? No. Then suffer in silence. So this sentence itself is not necessarily funny. And the humor comes in the context, right? And here, you simply must apologize. Must I? Yes, because it is a mature adult thing to do. How does that affect me?
See you later, Kevin. See you tomorrow, face. Hope a robot doesn't burn your fucking house down.
In the future, we're going to need robots to take care of people, to take care of the young, to educate us, to help us with a lot of work. And since we're going to have them around us, I think it is important that they're more human-like in their empathy. So in conclusion, we are trying to build robots with heart. Without that, robotic assistant, robotic nurses, and robotic caregivers will not work very well because they won't be able to make the correct decision. They need to make correct decision by understanding our intent, emotion.
Empathie. Elkaar aanvoelen. Joshua Bengio probeert de magie van ons brein wetenschappelijk te ontrafelen. Hij is een van de grootste onderzoekers op het gebied van deep learning. Het ontwikkelen van computers die zelfstandig kunnen leren. En zonder onze hulp slimmer en slimmer worden.
I'm half asleep. Some thought comes up. I could stay like this for an hour. It's like if you see a thread dangling and you pull on it, and now you see more things and you pull more, and like there's an avalanche of things coming. I emerge to consciousness. I see something that I hadn't seen before and I get too excited, so that wakes me up and I want to write it down. I feel relieved. My main quest is to understand the principles that underlie intelligence, and I believe that this happens through learning. The machine, the animal, the human becomes intelligent because it learns. And now the question is, to build intelligent machines or to understand how humans and animals are intelligent, where are we getting the knowledge?
Joshua Bengio is een van de pioniers op het gebied van deep learning. Een technologie die revolutionaire gevolgen zal hebben voor de kunstmatige intelligentie. Computerbedrijven als Google, Facebook en Twitter wedijveren om deze kennis. Zijn brein is eigenlijk de beste demonstratie van autonome intelligentie.
We don't program the computer with the knowledge of doors and cars and images and sounds. We program the computer with the ability to learn. And then the computer experiences and learns the knowledge from those experiences. So you can think of the learning program as a meta program, and we have something like that in our brain. Learning is about integrating the information we're getting through experience into some more abstract form that allows us to take good decisions, that allow us to predict what will happen next, that allow us to understand the connections between things we've seen. There's automatic control of the walking and watching for other people and cars, potentially. It's like if the rest of the world is in a haze. When I was young, I used to hit my head on on poles. It's like if I had a 3D projection of my thoughts in front of me. Sometimes, you know, it happens to you, something clicks, right? Suddenly you see a connection that explains different things. Your brain does that all the time, not always that you get this conscious impression. So I remember a particular moment. I was walking on the north sidewalk of the Queen Mary Street, and I was seeing the big church we have there. And then I got this insight about perturbations happening on neurons that propagate to other neurons, that propagate to other neurons. And it was like I'm doing with my hands, but it was like something visual. And suddenly I had the thought that this could work, that this could explain things that I was trying to understand. Of all the good feelings that we can have in life, the feeling we get when something clicks is stronger than food and sex. Good things we get from experience. Each time I have these insights, it's like seeing the promised land. It's like you have a glimpse of something you had never seen before, and it looks great. But of course, it's not just one promised land. It's one step to the next valley and the next valley. And that's how we climb really big mountains.
Misschien had Galilei wel gelijk toen hij zei: je kunt een mens niets leren, je kunt hem alleen helpen om het in hemzelf te vinden. Elk mens is een autonoom wezen. Ieder brein is uniek. Iedereen creëert zo zijn eigen werkelijkheid. Maar onbewust wordt er stiekem door anderen gesleuteld aan onze werkelijkheid. We denken dat we zelf onze eigen keuzes maken. Maar we worden continu beïnvloed. Bijvoorbeeld door de commercie. Verkopen is verleiden. Iemands brein zodanig beïnvloeden dat deze denkt het product nodig te hebben. En dat is de expertise van Charles Spence. Want ook ons brein blijkt programmeerbaar. Als je maar kunt ontrafelen hoe de zintuigen elkaar beïnvloeden.
So you have a room for every sense?
For different combinations. So that one was smell. In here we tend to do audio-visual, mostly. A bit of touch sometimes. In that corner we're doing warning signals for car drivers. So we've got, we're trying to see where do you put a warning signal so it makes a car driver realise there's something behind them in their blind spot. Doing some fun stuff here on taste. So these pumps, where you have a subject in a box and you can squirt a different taste in their mouth. So we've got sweet, sour and bitter. And there we're looking to see if we know that people will say sweet tastes are round, sour and bitter tastes are angular. And we're trying to see, is there something better than a star? Is there a perfect sour shape?
One of the things we found is that it's not only that sound can be matched to a location in space, but also that sound may also influence how you move, right? To think that just a very simple sound like a tone or a chord may influence where you draw or how you draw something very sort of spontaneously, very sort of unconsciously, could be applied afterwards to help runners or team sport players to synchronize or to be better at finding a moving object, say like a ball or something like that. Also, you can have auditory feedback to enhance performance.
When the people hear the sounds, they had to draw what they felt the sound was, and we're looking to those drawings, which are either peaks, depending on the pitch, or more circular figures. You can definitely see the high peaks of angularity or just the round scribbles.
Everything we see and the reality we believe exists is determined by our bodies and by the design of our bodies, right? So it's already an interpretation of what is out there, right? So reality cannot be experienced as it is, only interpreted. So humans see the sky as blue because it's the closest ultraviolet color we have, but a bee might see it violet, which is closer to the real sky. So our brain is already fabricating a reality for us, right? And telling us this is how the world works. This is what is physical, this is what is liquid or solid, this is what is color, and this is what is darkness, right? But in the end, it's just an illusion, right? And what we're going to create is a new illusion or a different illusion and play with it, right?
Because you can reprogram our experiences.
Or, yeah, or fool the brain, you know? You can create something that the brain did not expect or is not designed to account for. So just the way we are already has some blind spots that probably will allow us to create realities that should not exist but can exist.
Iedereen leeft zo in zijn eigen werkelijkheid. Ook Charles Spence. Hij lijkt te leven in de illusie dat rommel niet bestaat. En dan is het ook geen rommel. Maar waar komt zijn passie voor de illusie vandaan?
My parents came from the fairground, which means they sort of grew up travelling around the country, putting on fairs and fetes, so kind of our showmanship and entertainment with, you know, try and hook the duck or knock off the coconut kind of thing. My great-grandfather was the first person to show kind of moving pictures in England, and used to have like a kind of an illusion show, which is about 1896. I'm still trying to get to quite at the bottom of what it was, but it was some sort of, you'd go into one of these caravans or buildings, and there'd be mirrors and lights and illusions. You think you can see something, but really it's a reflection of something else. So there was that kind of sort of showmanship and entertainment part that these days is now becoming more,
with the senses.
Yeah, and if you think about fairground rides, it would be on the one hand things like sort of candy floss, which is kind of a modernist food, and strange ways of presenting food, you could say. It would be the dodgems, or the roller coaster, which would be sort of, you know, bodily sensations of force and movement and shock. And it would be lots of noise and other things. So it was kind of a very sensory kind of space.
It's not even about fake or real. It's just about one illusion or another, and which is the illusion you want, you know, like a flavor. So what we expected for smiling and frowning face. So we have the faces recordings of each person, and hopefully we'll have image analysis of the faces to correlate it.
How many faces?
We have 27 people, so we have 27 faces. So,
if I give you a food that's, say, bittersweet, like dark chocolate or a black coffee with a bit of sugar, I can make it 10% sweeter or 10% more bitter, but I can't give you a glass of water and somehow by changing the music, by changing the lighting, make you think you're tasting wine or anything else. So there are limits. There's a sort of truth of your senses, but it's always flexible. It's always modifiable.
Het brein houdt zichzelf gemakkelijk voor de gek. Het legt graag verbanden, zelfs als ze er niet zijn. We zien een uitdrukking op een gezicht en ons brein denkt te weten wat de ander denkt, hoe de ander zich voelt.
Please wait while I analyze your face. Hello, beautiful. I am Zara. I am an empathetic supergirl who can sense and share your emotions. I sense that you speak English.
Sarah is the software system of which is what we call an empathetic supergirl. She uses facial recognition, speech recognition, and also emotion recognition, sentiment recognition technology to understand your emotion and your answers to questions.
I was born and raised in the lab at Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. What is your earliest childhood memory?
My earliest childhood memory was being thrown into the swimming pool, and my mother was teaching me how to swim when I was 2 years old.
Tell me about your mother.
My mother used to be a national athlete. She's very competitive, independent, and very strong. She's taught me a lot.
That is amazing. I will like to meet your mother. Please tell me what kind of things you like doing growing up.
I liked reading and listening. She's looking at my face. She's looking at my facial expressions. Hanging out with my friends. Looking at how I express myself when I answer the questions. She listens to the tone of voice using emotion recognition, and she listens to the answer. Your answer to questions using speech recognition, natural language processing.
Can you now tell me about the biggest challenge you face at work?
There are too many projects, never enough time.
I am female, so my way is by definition a female way, and I've shaped by my life experience, by my role as a mother, for example. I very much care about how robots can take care of people. We're building robots to be people's companion, to be companions to children, to be companion to the elderly when they're lonely and all that. If robots have empathy, then they will never harm people, right? So that's why empathy is important.
Yeah.
And if they do have empathy, they will never hurt us. If we can see robots as friends, then we can trust them to help us. But she needs to have basically eye movement and a smile, that's it.
And then
the smile can be like
aesthetically, it needs to look like the one on your computer, right?
It would be good.
Can I ask you one more question? What do you think about a future where a robot like me can be someone you enjoy talking to?
I think that would be great. And I hope you will have a real body. You can be a real friend and a companion. I think that would be great. I look forward to it.
Wij mensen zijn zo geëvolueerd dat we als geen andere soort kunnen leren en die kennis doorgeven aan de volgende generaties.
Het lerend vermogen in een computer programmeren op zo'n manier dat de machine zelf die ervaringen verwerkt tot een eigen werkelijkheid. Volgens Joscha Bengio is dat slechts een kwestie van tijd.
Maar in welke werkelijkheid bevinden we ons dan?
One of the big mysteries about how brains manage to do what they do is what scientists have called for many decades the question of credit assignment. That is, how do neurons in the middle of your brain, hidden somewhere, get to know how they should change, what they should be doing that would be useful for the whole collective that is the brain. And we don't know how brains do it. We now have algorithms that do a pretty good job at it. And that's what led to this current revolution called deep learning. We're taking inspiration from brains. We're taking inspiration from a lot of our experiments that we're doing with computers trying to learn from data. We're taking inspiration from other disciplines, from psychology, neuroscience, electrical engineering, of course, statistics. I mean, it's a very multidisciplinary area.
We're going to do a little brainstorm session. The idea that I wanted us to discuss is how we generalize the principle of backprop. So backprop has been incredibly successful in deep learning, but
the way that the computer is learning is by small iterative changes, right? So I show the image of a cat, but the computer says it's a dog. So I'm going to change a score for dog and a score for cat. And so what we want to do is decrease the score for dog and increase the score for cat, so that the computer eventually, after seeing many millions of images, starts seeing the right class more often and eventually gets it as well as humans.
If you could visualize this thing in the actual, million-dimensional parameter space, like, it probably would look much more like non-linear to the extent that things in a million-dimensional space look like anything.
And all these edges go like that, not orthogonal to each other. So however you project, you always see like.
So this effect might be just due to the low dimensionality of the projection. That's possible.
I don't think so.
So it does things like this. You show the picture like this, and the computer generates kind of a description, like a woman is throwing a frisbee in the park.
The computer generates that?
Yes. And it would do a different sentence next time if we try, right? It's kind of generating somehow with some kind of randomness. So there are many possible sentences you could say about this image, and it really learns about all the kinds of sequences of words that are appropriate. We didn't tell the computer, when you're going to say that word, you should be looking here in the image. It figured out by itself that this was useful to look at the right places as it's producing each of the words in the sentence.
Does it mean that a computer can think for themselves?
That means the computer will be more autonomous in some sense, right? That
That's
need
a hard one. An
more autonomous right?
computer.
Well, more autonomous in its learning. We're not talking about robots here, right? We're just talking about computers gradually making sense of the world around us by observation. But those computers don't have a consciousness. There's no such thing, right now, at least. It's probably going to be a gradual thing, where the computer requires less and less of our guidance. So if you think about humans, we still need guidance. Imagine a baby being isolated from society. That child probably would not grow to be very intelligent, would not understand the world around us as well as we do. That's because we've had parents, teachers, and so on guide us. It's possible that it will also be required for computers to reach our level of intelligence. The same kind of attention we're giving to humans, we might need to give to computers. Just applying the current science would already have a huge impact on society, because we could actually approach human level intelligence.
So to build robots with all the components of human intelligence, human learning abilities, human perception, human memories, and human judgment, human values. So a long list of these things. My wildest dream will be able to do that and teach that to a robot. And for example, for a robot to copy all that from me. My personal experience, my memory, my judgment, my values, which evolve as well. So it's like a copy of a person, of me. And when I'm not around, that copy will continue. Maybe will continue to talk to my children, talk to my children's children. But they know it's not me. They know it's not mommy, but it's a copy. But that would be interesting to replicate before I die. So I see whether it's really me or not. Which language did you learn to program this? What does this robot do?
It senses light and it follows it. It follows light, so it has to be all dark, and then we have to shine a torch. Okay. So it follows the torch. Okay.
So we've been living with artificial intelligence for a long time. It's just, gradually we're going to get used to the evolution of such intelligent machines. They will gradually be able to talk to us, and they will gradually be able to empathize with our feelings, and they gradually will be able to do more to help us. We'll get used to them, step by step. It doesn't happen overnight.
Don't hold the robot. Don't hold the robot. Okay.
We veronderstellen dat onze manier van denken iets unieks is. Iets dat ons mensen definieert. Maar de natuur heeft ons denken gevormd. En het stopt niet bij ons. Met de denkende machine die wij bouwen, neemt de natuur de volgende stap. Stel, een robot staart in het haardvuur en luistert naar muziek. Het inspireert haar tot het schrijven van een gedicht. Wat zouden we daarvan vinden? We spiegelen onszelf in de machines die we maken. Toch weten we de uitkomst niet. We maken ze zelf, naar ons evenbeeld. Naar ons perfecte evenbeeld. Maar hoe zit het dan met onze imperfecties? Dat wat ons juist zo menselijk maakt. Maken we dan ook machines die oneerlijk zijn? Of onzeker?
I sometimes wonder whether it's the case that maybe I have no smell and no taste abilities at all. That everyone else is much better at tasting and smelling, and that's why I spend my life looking at the effects of colour. That's why background music's so interesting to me, because that it can change. Whereas for other people who have better sensory abilities to begin with, maybe, so you sort of wonder, do you end up studying the stuff that you're in some way different or don't have?
Onze imperfectie maakt wie wij zijn. Imperfectie geeft diversiteit. Zonder diversiteit komt de hele natuur op een doodlopende weg. Dat geldt voor onszelf, maar ook voor de wetenschap.
You might say it's is it the science of the underdog in some way? So you say there's a dominant sense, and if you want to be in the best journals and be the established, respected scientist, then study vision. That's where all the real scientists go. But I'm for the underdog, for the underrepresented senses, the things that people think are lower and not worthy of study and kind of irrelevant or underdeveloped or emotional. There are many very clever people who just study vision, who just study hearing, but there haven't been so many who look at how the senses connect. And being that kind of jack of all trades, knowing a little bit about each of the senses opens up a huge kind of area of research space. And that has really exploded over the last quarter of a century. My colleagues maybe just smile at me at the moment and say, nah, we'll just study hearing and vision. But I'm optimistic that as the years go by, more and more researchers will start to engage with the other senses, and that will be the frontier.
I'm going to a cottage that my brother Sammy has rented. We are focusing on some aspect of who we are here, like sort of pure understanding, pure intelligence, learning. But of course, we are much more than that. And, you know, we're talking about love, emotions in general, and people are starting to try to connect the dots for these aspects as well.
We begrijpen het van onszelf nog nauwelijks hoe ons brein werkt. Maar we bouwen wel machines die gaan leren en gaan denken. En er komt een moment dat computers ook ideeën krijgen. Ook hun eigen gedachten. Hoe gaan we dan met hen een gesprek aan? Hoe wissel je van gedachten met een machine?
Hallo Samy.
Salut Joshua.
Hallo Patrick. Hallo Emmanuel. Hallo Alice. Hallo Jérémy. Hallo Carlo.
Do you think it is ever possible for a computer to love?
If we program them to, yes. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, emotions are like anything else. They can be understood. And we could have programs or equations that, you know, follow the moves that correspond to the underlying mechanisms. We have a tendency to put emotions as something magical that isn't accessible to science. I don't think so. I think we're understanding more and more about them, and we will even more in the future. And once we do that, it's good for us. You know, we can be less stupid with our emotions, as I think we are right now.
At the time, I had not really thought about the connections with reinforcement learning, but there are connections. It's a kind of collective thinking that is more like what we do in reinforcement learning, but at the level of the whole group. Right? We're not an individual. We're
competing.
Competitive society. Well,
Competing losses, competing understanding of the world.
What do you mean?
I think we don't program robots to fall in love per se, but it's very likely that some people might build such a strong bond with a robot companion, they might fall in love with robots. For example, even today, we know that some autistic children really like talking to Siri on iPhone because it's comforting, because for some reason. So these children are building a bond with a robot, with a smartphone assistant. So in the future, if the robot really looks like human, talks like human, behaves like human, it's conceivable that some people would develop an emotional tie to the robot. Even today, in Japan, there's someone who married his computer. It's not unlikely at all.
Op de tempel van Delphi in het oude Griekenland stond: ken uzelf.
Maar als we onszelf nauwelijks kennen, hoe kunnen we dan onze machines kennen? Het is een kwestie van tijd en die machines overtreffen wat de mens kan. En hun werkelijkheid is niet de onze. Het is een illusie dat we dan hun denken nog bij kunnen houden. Zijn onze machines, onze nakomelingen, dan the mind of the universe?
Worden wij door onze technologie onderdeel van een veel grotere intelligentie? Of heeft u andere vragen voor Robert Dijkgraaf? Stel ze nu via Facebook Live.